Welcome to the module Designing of a Coherent Online Course. This module deals about the graphic syllabus, outcomes map, online course templates, and course maps. This module also addresses how to write accessible learning outcomes with attention to occupational and professional standards. It then moves on to the assessments, which should simply mirror the outcomes and ways to help ensure online academic integrity. Expectations for online course quality. There are 7 points. First is orientation. Make the overall course design and structure clear to students with a course orientation, a syllabus, introductions, overviews, and summaries. Outcomes. Provide measurable student centered learning outcomes in the syllabus and other places at the course level for each unit or module and at the lesson level, and connect the outcomes to program competencies, degree goals, general education outcomes, and any professional accreditation standards. Third is assessments. Derive assessments directly from the learning outcomes. Administer short assessments of different types periodically so that students can monitor their progress during the course rather than waiting until the midterm or end of course exam. Explain to students how completing their assignments will help them achieve the learning outcomes. Also, collect comments from students during the term to improve the course. Course materials. Use materials that directly support the students' achievement of the learning outcomes. Make sure materials are relevant, accurate, comprehensive, free of extraneous content, and organized in a logical sequence of meaningful chunks. Instructional strategies. Use instructional strategies that incorporate the best practices in the discipline and online instructional design. Align learning activities with the outcomes and provide students with support in how to study. Include estimates of time required to complete the assignments. Technology and multimedia. Use learning outcomes, assessments, teaching methods, and technical considerations such as the learning management system capabilities to guide choices about technology and multimedia. Know how to use all tools that the students will use. In the course materials, explain how to use the tools and identify the sources of support and troubleshooting for students. Navigation and accessibility. Make navigation easy and accessible for students. Make sure that the course organization and the location of all materials and assignments submission sites are easy to find and access. Phases of course design. Procedure templates for instructional design typically display a linear process. You start at one step, complete it, then start the next, complete it, and move on one step at a time. This is a proven methodology, but in practice, some phases occur cyclically or simultaneously. The phases of course design are analysis, design, development, teaching and learning, evaluation, and revisions. Structuring of course. Methods for figuring out the best way to structure a course include making outlines, developing a concept map, making notes on colored sticky papers or index cards that you can easily rearrange, making a graphic of the course structure. This figure shows an example of unit structure for course weeks. How to arrange the units and how to arrange the modules are incorporated in this figure. This flowchart shows the connections across weeks of study. This flowchart starts with the course overview followed by weekly previews and summaries to build bridges between chunks of content. These connections not only show the course structure but also allow students to see the progression of the topic they are studying. Include the following sections: an overview to introduce the whole course, a preview for each unit and week, a summary of how a completed week or module relates to the upcoming one, a summary for the end of a unit and its connections to the upcoming unit. The graphic syllabus. The most elaborate and informative graphic for showing relationships among topics is the graphic syllabus. It is a content-focused flowchart, graphic organizer, or a diagram of the sequencing and organization of the major course topic through the term. It provides a big picture of course content by giving students a deeper understanding of the course material than they would otherwise have. Learning benefits of graphic syllabus. It reveals the reason behind organizing the course content. Simply recalling the shape of the visual of the graphic syllabus and graphic help the students to remember the words within it. A final learning boost of the graphic syllabus in general is their ability to communicate better than text across cultural, language, and ability barriers. They can increase the accessibility of the materials and help to meet the learning needs of a diverse student population. A graphic syllabus may notate the calendar schedule of the topics, the major activities and assignments, and the tests. Course templates and maps. Course templates and maps are the aids to course design. Although the LMS comes with default course menus, they may not make good instructional sense. Several campuses use online course templates to create a more logical organization and set of names or labels for course areas and course menus. In addition to these kinds of templates, course maps help to plan all the essential course components before building them directly into the LMS. Usually, the sample template shows the menu items for each category as content, communication tools, support resources, instructor areas. In a sample course template menu, under content, course homepage, syllabus and schedule, weekly folders, my grades are there. Under communication tools, online office, announcements, email, my group options are there. Under support resources, student support services, Blackboard help are there. Under instructor areas, instructor guide, online course design standards, discussion forums, and tools are there. The course homepage provides placeholders with directions for adding these items to the homepage. The items are a course banner, a decorative enclosure with the name and number of a course, then welcome, then start here. It includes an online readiness self-assessment survey, then what you will study in this course. The homepage also has a link to the weekly folders which contain all the materials students need to study and the activities and assignments to complete each week. Each placeholder contains suggestions for what to include and how an instructor can make edits. Weekly folders contain placeholders for an introduction, learning outcomes, a study guide, activities for the week in a checklist format. Course maps. A course map makes it easier to fit the course design into whatever electronic spaces are available. It helps to sequence course topics, learning activities, and materials. Writing and sequencing the learning outcomes. The outcomes state what students should be able to do or perform to demonstrate learning. The outcomes should be measurable, student centered, listed in the syllabus and other places at the course level, and connected to the program competencies, degree goals, etc. A flowchart of the learning process is called the outcomes map. Learning outcomes represent top priority content and abilities for our students to master. Developing valid assessments. Instructional designers and teaching and learning scholars alike agree on this added learning edge strategy. Design your assessments at the start before developing the instructional material to bring it into sharp focus your analysis for your course design. In the basic online course design standards, the following requirements apply. Derive assessments directly from the learning outcomes. Administer short assessments of different types periodically throughout the course to enable the students to progress through. Explain to students how completing assignments and assessments will help them to achieve the learning outcomes. Objective tests and quizzes. Test banks that accompany textbooks specialize in objective items such as true or false, matching, multiple choice, and multiple answer that assess students' recall of facts, terms, definitions, etc. Short answer items are also classified as objective. A cleanly written objective item avoids two tricky pitfalls, such as diverting a knowledgeable student away from the correct response and cluing a poorly prepared student toward the correct response. Some of the objective test items are multiple answer or true or false items. Multiple answer or true or false items have a stem and a list of responses, as do multiple choice items. However, students do not select just one right response. They decide whether each option is true or false in relation to the STEM. Next is short answer or recall items. Recall items in frequent quizzes make excellent compliance checks of reading, viewing, and listening, and recall has its place in learning, but not as the end of college level or professional education. You should set, teach, and assess learning outcomes to include higher level thinking such as interpretation, non routine problem solving, application, analysis, inference, generalization, synthesis, conclusion drawing, and evaluation. Next is clicker databases. In the science, maths, and a few other disciplines, you can find many concept oriented multiple choice items in clicker question database on the web. Next is the stimulus based items. You can also compose your own higher level thinking, multiple choice and multiple answer or true or false items around a realistic stimulus, a table, graph, diagram, flowchart, drawing, photo, map, schematic, equation, dataset, etc. Next is distractors. To develop plausible distractors means the wrong answers. You can juggle the elements or variables in the correct responses. Next is reducing cheating. Whether you select your objective items from a test bank or compose your own, you can give more robust tests and minimize the cheating opportunities if you develop a pool of different but equivalent items for each learning outcome. Your LMS should have a tool to create a test by sampling items or question sets randomly from the item pools so that each student will have comparable but different assessments. Next is purpose, graphics, and projects. While these take longer to grade than an objective test, student constructed work like essays, papers, graphics, and project may be the only way to assess student performance on certain outcomes, such as the ability to conduct research, organize a project, set up a business, make ethical decisions, and communicate in writing. Avoid stock paper topics and analysis of textbook cases because students may be able to purchase them on the web. Next is self assessment and reflections. Assignments and activities that require self assessment and reflection enhance the performance of online students, usually without generating a heavy grading workload. Students can assess their learning using online readiness surveys, knowledge surveys, flashcards, and practice quizzes. Then, group work. The same recommendations for individual work apply to group projects, but group assignments should be present a greater degree of challenge than an individual assignment. Students have to need each other to come to defensible conclusions or develop and assess alternative solutions. They have to generate synergy within their group. If an assignment is too easy and straightforward, they will simply divide up the work and collaborate only to piece their sections together as at the last minute. Another way to encourage mutual need among group members is to assign roles among them. The roles should make sense in the context of your course and group assignment. Then performances. Many online courses have field experiences, labs, and specific performance components. Assessments of performances such as music, dance, acting, athletics, and clinical procedures generally require a rubric. Then proctored assessments. If your department or program requires proctored assessments, provide students with directions on the procedures, location, any cost, and any advance arrangements needed. Sometimes proctored assessments occur off-site or in other countries, and your program may provide preceptors or monitors in various locations. Any such provisions require coordination with your institution's protocols. Choosing online course content. Online courses require different means of content delivery from classroom courses. With online course sites, whether teaching fully online or hybrid, you may have resources like traditional textbooks, then content-rich supplemental online publisher resources, e-textbooks, web-based multimedia and open educational resources, personally recorded podcasts or videos, then original content files added directly to the LMS. Online copyright guidelines. Because you have many resources from which to draw when building an online course, you need to pay attention to copyright. How much attention depends on what material you use and how you use it. You can use some material more freely than others and need to take care to avoid copyright infringement. Here we are discussing about the free use, fair use, and public domain. Free use means no license or written permission from the copyright holder is required to copy, distribute, or electronically disseminate the work. Fair use allows limited use of materials for purposes of teaching, scholarship, research, criticism, comment, and news reporting. Legal determinations of fair use are made on a case by case basis. The amount and significance of material used from the proctored work also figure into the determination. A tiny amount should not raise concerns unless it is of substantial importance, such as the heart of the copied work, a trademark logo, or content that would harm the author's or the copyright holder's sales market, etc. Public domain is a clearer legal concept but is sometimes redefined. The following can be freely used in an online course. They are your own original work if it is not published or otherwise owned by another agency. Materials that explicitly give you permission for their use, such as those made available under Creative Commons licenses. Materials for which your institution has purchased a license to allow use in courses. Materials in the public domain and links to websites with appropriate citation. The syllabus. The syllabus gives students their first impression of both course and instructor, so it merits careful development. When the course is designed well, it becomes central part of the online course orientation. The overall course design and structure can be made within the syllabus. What should include in the syllabus? The syllabus must contain basic course information. It includes course number and title, any required prerequisites for enrollment, credit hours, directions on how to access the course LMS site and locate LMS folder for online course materials, etc. Then information about the instructor, then a briefly annotated list of required materials such as readings, podcasts and videos, then supplemental materials, then a course description. This may be as brief as a few lines describing the content or the full catalog description. Then student learning outcome for the course. To conclude, this module discussed about the expectations for online course quality, phases of course design, structure of course design, graphic syllabus, course templates and course maps, learning outcomes, development of valid assessments, choosing of course content, online copyright guidelines, the syllabus, etc. Thank you for listening to this presentation.